Okay, somebody donated 10 bucks, 15 bucks to look at this. What is this? Federal worker shares powerful story at town hall.
Who works for USA and she's stuck over
Jesus, hold on. No volume button. Feels great.
in another country and can't go home. I got 7 more years before I retire. They get ready to take the money that I worked hard for since I was 16 years old. And now I'm 57. And I won't have nothing. And I'm struggling. I am struggling. And they don't get it. I don't understand. Democrats, we gotta get down and dirty.
Look, first, let me just say this. Thank you for being here. Because what you are managing, so many people, understandably so, would be in a fetal position in the corner, in bed right now. But you were here advocating for your baby girl, fighting for yourself, and other workers like her and you. I want to express my gratitude to both of you because the humanitarian work of USAID is essential. I thank you for being here. Y'all, I really do look forward to a day where no one has to relive their trauma to compel action from their government. I am so sorry that you felt you had no other choice but to do that. But I heard you out fighting for you and your daughter, and we'll be in touch after this, okay?
I don't know why you wanted me to watch this. I don't know what I'm supposed to say about this. Okay. People keep asking me what I think about this. I have no thoughts on this. I don't think there's anything wrong with plainclothes arresting as a concept. I don't think there's anything wrong with arresting people. I don't know why she was arrested. It's possible that the arrest was for a bad reason. In that case, I'd be against it. I know people want to like rage over this video, but I have no thoughts or opinions on it until I know more about it. So, yeah, I don't know.
Would have been after this context. And there's no APA option there. There's definitely an APA option here. That's
okay. You said go to 144.39 on this because we didn't get that far because we got bored. 144.39.
Nothing preventing these 5 from filing
That's
habeas
not my
action.
question. My question again, there's a chance, reasonable time to file habeas petitions. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I think as we've discussed right now, there's nothing preventing these 5 from filing
That's
habeas
not my
action.
question. My question again is, if we were to grant the relief you request, would the government consider it necessary to allow time, notice, and time to file a habeas petition before removing people under the proclamation? Or would it, anyway, that's A, or B, is the government's position that it could immediately resume mass removals of these 5 named plaintiffs and the class members immediately? A or B? If you've got a C, you can tell me a C.
Your Honor, I think it's B, that we take the position the AEA does not require such notice, but that certainly in this period, these 5 plaintiffs could bring habeas claims right now and are electing not to do so. They could bring it in the correct court, and they've identified no obstacles to doing so.
There's a whole class before us. You haven't moved to vacate the classification. I don't know why you keep talking about these 5 people. We probably got...
Wait, what the fuck? You're okay with plainclothes cops who don't identify themselves arresting people? Let's say that you thought there... Okay, I'm about to ask a question. I can already see where this whole conversation is going. Let's say that there's a person that you think is either a flight risk or potentially violent. Do you think that police officers or some type of authority should have the ability to arrest that person in plain clothes, so as not to give themselves away beforehand? Oh, someone said they did identify themselves. They showed their badge. Okay. Like, there's no problem conceptually with them not being in like fucking giant SWAT vests or whatever. And I guess if they did show themselves, then it's even less of a thing. It just comes down to whether or not people just want to say every arrest now is bad, because but I don't do that here. Okay, if like there are other channels to go and do that on. I don't think arresting people is bad. Okay, now if there were no good reasons to do it, then you should be mad at that, not out of a video of somebody getting arrested.
Class before us. You haven't moved to vacate the class certification. I don't know why you keep talking about these 5 people. We've probably got hundreds of people before us, and I'm asking about those hundreds, including those 5. And as to them, I understand your answer is B. The second we vacate, if we were to do that, people are lined up and put on planes without notice or time to file for habeas. Even though the government agrees, that decision, they have a right to have the decision made about whether they even qualify under the proclamation.
Your Honor, if the TRO is dissolved, the government believes there would not be a limitation and that the statute does not require such notice.
Does the government have any obligation with a class certified to notify counsel as to where these individuals are that are being removed, and so they even know which jurisdiction
Nope,
to bring
he's gonna say
a habeas
nope.
suit in?
Your Honor, I don't believe that plaintiffs have
Correct,
sought such relief. I don't think the district court has ordered it. And so,
Not notice. It's not notice. And it seems it's the government here that says you got to file habeas actions. The whole solution here is habeas actions. Let's all have habeas actions.
But there'd be no
So
way
it
to
seemed
do
a bit
it.
rich for the government to say, well, we're not going to.
That we're not going to give you notice that we're going to arrest you, and we're not going to tell your lawyers where you're being held. So how could you even do habeas?
And tell you where they are or where you need to file or give you time
Yep.
to file at all.
It's a joke argument. And the
Your
government
Honor,
doesn't
they
believe
certainly
it.
know where their own clients are, and they're refusing to file
they
in the proper
How
court.
could they know? You literally just said they have no obligation to notify any of them, and they have no obligation to give notice. Do we need to listen to this? I guess it's 5 minutes more, but this is so stupid.
I don't even know how many are in this class.
As-
You can talk about 5. They represent way more than 5. I don't understand why we're just talking about 5. That's the point.
Because he's running around his house.
Class action.
Your Honor, they could certainly file in habeas. They seem to care about their
They can't
form
file
more
in
than
habeas
the
unless they go to the right jurisdiction.
District.
I absolutely agree with that premise, Your Honor,
If
which
they
is why
don't
they
know
need
where
to
they
file
are,
in Texas.
And the government won't tell them.
They know where at least some of them are, and
They know where at least some of them are.
That's no.
they're affirmatively refusing to bring habeas in those jurisdictions.
And there's no reason they've declined. They've made a choice not to that's supported by an awful lot of precedent. But that's not the point. The point is you must know how many more people are in this class.
Your Honor, there is a declaration that provides the estimate. I believe it's the CERNA declaration filed on Tuesday or so. I don't recall the specific numbers, but it is in the record.
Are we 100? I'm sorry, I looked at
My recollection is it's in around 300 or so.
300. Is every one of them in the same jurisdiction in Texas?
Your Honor, I don't know that question.
They don't either. Hard to file. The other thing I just wanted to clarify is, it seems like you're kind of both crossing over here. The written TRO doesn't say anything about bringing airplanes back. It just says that you shall not remove people that are within the class. But it was in its oral direction, which you say was not, I've misunderstood the position. My understanding from government's position in district court is that was not a binding order until it was reduced to writing. And so when you're asking us to vacate TRO, are you asking us to vacate the written TRO, which is one that you say is legally operative?
That is what we are asking this court to stay or dissolve. But certainly, I think plaintiffs are taking the position that that incorporates more than what is it within the four corners
not.
of its writing.
Right, but you're.
We take a contrary position, but jurisdiction in no way depends on the merits, as the Supreme Court has repeatedly explained.
Okay.
All right, you want to wind it up?
Yeah, very quickly, Your Honors. On the habeas point, you've heard that it could be brought in habeas. Labue means that it needs to be so. We've also heard from opposing counsel right now that they intend to bring evidence of individual cases. I think that's important for 2 reasons. It is in severe tension with commonality requirement of a class. They're now getting into very fact-bound characteristics that are inconsistent with class adjudication. And I think it just, again, underscores how much this is sounding in habeas. My particular circumstances warrant you not exercising custody over me is a classic habeas claim, and it should be brought as such.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Honorable Court now shall adjourn until Tuesday, April 1st at 1:30 a.m.
So just for this court case, there are some lawyers that basically brought, they're representing 5 people who are potentially, I don't believe, or they might all be in custody, but they haven't been deported yet, who are Venezuelan immigrants who are worried about being deported. And they filed a court case. And then as part of the court case, they filed a preliminary injunction and a temporary restraining order, basically saying, hey, before this court case is even started, could we please, like, not allow the government to do this because our clients are going to get fucked. Okay, they're going to be shipped up to some El Salvadorian prison and we'll never get them back. And so the judiciary said, yes, this is fine. It's filed in a district court in D.C. The district court in D.C. I believe there's only one in D.C. And then the government is now arguing that this TRO should be lifted. Typically, you don't even appeal TROs, but I guess we are. Now, but the government's argument, this is the thing that I guess you need to understand is just because it's so crazy. The government's argument is the following. The government says that because the president's wartime powers are so expansive, the president should never have to justify who qualifies for the Alien Enemy Act. The government doesn't have to prove that to anybody, doesn't have to show evidence to anybody for that. And the decisions that the president makes when it comes to deporting aliens under the Aliens Enemy Act should be judicially unreviewable. Not only that, if you did want to file something, I guess, to fight it, if you wanted to do it, then maybe you could file a court case if you wanted to challenge this. So affirmatively, you're not given any kind of due process. But if you wanted to file a writ of habeas corpus, so filing something in a court saying, hey, I demand to have some process or procedure or whatever, now you have to file for it, right? They're saying that if you want to do that, then you're allowed to do that, fine. But the challenge is the government is not putting people on notice, telling them that they're going to be arrested and deported. And not only that, the government is shuffling people around random federal districts when it comes to imprisoning them. So the lawyers don't even know where the fuck their clients are. No one knows. So, and the end of this argument is, and these aren't like, is this the worst case scenario or is this an assumption? Like the guy said it here, the lawyer for the government here literally said, we do not have an affirmative responsibility, meaning with no notice, we don't have the obligation to tell anybody when we're coming to arrest them. And we don't have the obligation to tell anybody where they're being held. So the government is basically saying, if you really want to challenge your detainment, then fine, you're free to do that. But we're not going to tell you when we're coming for you. We're not going to tell you when we're shipping you out. And we're not going to tell anybody where you're being held. And also, when you file your writ of habeas corpus, you have to file into the right district. So the lawyer that you might not even have in time because you don't even know you're going to be arrested, the lawyer needs to know where to file that writ at, even though he doesn't know where you're being held, and the government's not going to tell anybody. It's just like an unbelievable. It's as evil as it sounds. It's just an insane set of circumstances. Yeah. Anyone, Destiny gun owners, is this BS or can a bullet really take this trajectory? What? Do you know what gun kata is? Is that one Christian Bale movie?
Smith takes aim and squeezes the trigger. In a fraction of a second, another shot is fired.
Why isn't this super illegal? Shit on me all you want. I'm a dumb Euro. Well, it is super illegal. It's obviously super illegal. But the government is just, the arguments on the government side are just playing word games to try to make it sound like what they're doing is okay. That's all I can really say. It's as stupid as that. There's not a better explanation for it. Bullets are just so small. I have a hard time believing it carries so much energy for a bullet that small to penetrate so many things and change course. Especially on that, like, how much energy is lost on this ricochet, right? If you're changing the vector so much, I feel like you must be losing so much, no? I don't know. It seems wild to me, but... For ricochets, you don't lose a ton of energy. Wouldn't you almost necessarily have to? I guess I don't know physics-wise, like, how does a ricochet work? Kinetic energy is mass times velocity squared, so it's mostly velocity. Mass doesn't matter nearly as much. Well, the velocity is very important, sure, but the mass is important as well. I mean, it's in your equation, right? Like, It's important, but velocity is parabolically more important. Sure. Parabolically or exponentially? Sure, the speed is more important, but I mean, like, for a small thing, like, at some point it won't matter that much, right? Even if it has, like, really, really, really high speed. I'm just curious on a ricochet how much, I'm just curious on a ricochet how much... I feel like you'd have to lose a lot of speed, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know what the mechanics are at work that make it so you don't lose a lot of speed on a ricochet. Maybe I'm being ignorant, but a grain of sand at the speed of light destroys Earth. Possibly, but a grain of sand, I think, is a very big thing to be moving at the close to the speed of light, no? Destiny, new Tate rape review? I am so tired of the same, like, 7 stories getting recycled for whatever. If it's, like, new shit, then maybe, but... One of Andrew Tate's girlfriends said he nearly choked her unconscious during a violent sexual encounter 2 weeks ago. I don't care. Don't believe it. You're dating Andrew Tate now? I wouldn't even believe anything. Don't give a fuck. Depends on the angle of impact too. I don't know how shallow the angle of impact was in this case, but a glancing impact would probably allow the bullet to retain most of its energy. Sure, okay, maybe, yeah. This is what happens to aluminum when hit by a half-ounce, 14-gram piece of plastic going 15,000 miles per hour in space. Damn. Bro, Canada's so fucking cucked. Everyone is so cucked, and France is pussyfooting, UK is pussyfooting, Germany is neutral. What's happening? Ontario Premier Ford spoke to PM Carney, will not impose countermeasures until April 2nd. No assurance from U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick on softening of tariffs. Good job, dipshit. Apparently USAID was used to fuel the protests in Israel, part of which led to October 7th. The protests in Israel led to October 7th. Bro, Jesus fucking Christ. From the White House Twitter account, by the way.
Sort of CQB training, you've probably heard the expression that bullets follow walls, and it's a true statement, often repeated, not often fully understood. So let's talk about that today. When we say that bullets follow walls, we're very much talking about
literally even the Nazis didn't put out propaganda to make themselves look so evil. Bro, what was the what was I seeing yesterday on Twitter with the woman who had the people in cages behind her? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Ricochet, right? And Ricochet.
Why does Canada have 300% tariffs on dairy? Canada's tariffs on dairy only kick in when they've imported a certain amount of stuff from the United States, and it's to make it so that their own local dairy production doesn't get completely overwhelmed. However, those tariffs that kick in only after certain quotas have been met, which, by the way, they haven't yet by the United States, those tariffs are negotiated during the U.S. Mexico-Canada trade agreement. Like, the U.S. was fine with those. Trump was fine with those. That was his negotiated agreement, so...
is often misunderstood. So a lot of folks think, thanks to movies, video games, pop culture, and whatnot, that when you shoot, the bullet comes in and it bounces off the wall and bounces off in a nice, even pattern, like a bouncy ball. It hits and it bounces. And that is just simply not true, because bullets are made of lead and copper. These are very soft metals. So when they're moving at very high speeds and hit a wall that is usually hard, like in this case, let's assume it's a concrete wall, it will deform and turn it into a massive ball of messy spall lead thing, just shredded metal, and it is going to ricochet, not out, but it's going to move more like a hacky sack, where it hits, deforms, and tumbles along, and it moves in a much shallower angle along the face of the wall. And that is why we say that bullets follow walls, because if bullets hit anywhere along that wall with a steep enough angle, then we're going to actually see a bounce, and it's going to tumble along the wall. So if you are poking around your corner right here, you may be at risk of catching a face full of spall. A way to mitigate that is to back off a little bit, so that, you know, as you get farther away from the wall, that angle opens up and you have a little bit more protection.
One thing that's weird, bro, we need to redo physics. There's so many. We're just going to, at some point, I'm going to spend 1 year retiring from streaming, and we're just going to do all school classes, okay? When it comes to velocity, right? Velocity is a direction and a speed at the same time. When you are changing directions, you have to change, like you have to like accelerate in a different direction and like change the you have to change the magnitude, the direction of your speed, basically. So like a if you go this way and you hit the thing and you have like a really dramatic bounce off, you have to find a way to redirect like much greater amounts of speed than if you just go slightly. So I think that's how I understand this. This is why I don't understand how, if something hits a wall, but I guess the ricochet, then it followed the wall, right? It didn't like completely go the opposite direction. This is why I don't understand how you retain so much energy. I don't know if what I just said made sense. I have like a very basic understanding of this, but.
Similarly, if you are moving along the wall like this, maybe just take a step to the left and just get a little bit more space so that your shoulder doesn't catch a wad of shrapnel if a bullet hits any of these spots over here. Now, naturally, if the bullet hits a window like we got here, it's probably just going to punch right through. If the bullet closes down even more directly, the wall, even a concrete wall, is going to absorb most of the impact.
Yes, but since the wall doesn't move, that acts as if it's adding much of that energy back into the projectile. I think that would only be true if you had like a metal that was literally, or a surface that was literally not responding at all. But I think most surfaces will absorb a lot of the impact, right? Like if you feel a vibration or anything along the material, or if it moves in even ways that might be imperceptible to human eye, it's still absorbing a decent amount of the energy, no? Newton's law, the wall puts the bullet's force back into the bullet, but opposite. Well, that's assuming that it doesn't absorb any of the force itself, right?
But as we get even shallower angles...
But I don't know what the ballistics are of like metal walls, or I don't know like how much of this, I don't know, maybe metal absorbs very little and you don't feel much of an impact along the surface, or maybe it's quite a bit, I have no idea. Somebody said the wall only absorbs about 20%.
So over here, the wall doesn't need to be concrete anymore. Even light, soft drywall has a tendency to deflect bullets relatively intact and keep them sending along that path. So the softer the wall, the shallower the angle needs to be, but it can still deflect the bullet altogether. Now, another thing to keep in mind with this is that vehicles tend to be on roads, and roads are typically asphalt. It doesn't need to just be a wall. Any hard surface is going to have a tendency to deflect bullets. So if this guy is hiding behind the vehicle right here, and bullets are landing short and hitting the asphalt right in this area, it will have a tendency to skate underneath, and he is going to be taking balls of nasty copper and lead shrapnel into his ankles. So that can be useful if you are shooting at someone using a vehicle for cover. You can make sure you aim a little bit low so that you can actually, get those rounds through even an armored vehicle, because there's usually space underneath the vehicle. Similarly, for him, if he wants to prevent getting his ankles shot out, he can hide behind the wheel wells, and that'll provide a little bit extra protection so that if bullets end up hitting short, they will be absorbed mostly by the meaty stuff in the tires and axles and stuff, rather than going straight through and hitting him on the other side.
Wow. Hold on, let me.
The signals chat controversy. In terms of the signals chat controversy that's going on, is DOJ involved at this point? If so, why? If not, why not?
Well, first, it was sensitive information, not classified, and inadvertently released. And what we should be talking about is that
Sensitive information, not classified. Okay, I don't think that distinction matters here, but also I'm willing to bet that the information would have counted as classified because I'm sure it was produced by a division in the government that is automatically classified, but okay.
it was a very successful mission. Our world is now safer because of that mission. We're not going to comment any further on that.
And then they're doing this. This is the conservative NPC talking point, is that the op was a success, therefore everything is fine.
If you want to talk about classified information, talk about what was at Hillary Clinton's home.
I was just going to say, we should just bring up Hillary Clinton's email stuff then. Nobody hacked it, right? So it seems like the private server was successful, right? The DNC servers got hacked. So it seems like it was good that Hillary Clinton was keeping her shit on a private server, huh? But
Talk about what was at Hillary Clinton's home that she was trying to bleach bit. Talk about the
bleach bit bleach. Standard practice for decommissioning servers and everything. I like that we're still bringing up Hillary's emails. That was her 2016 election, right? So this is now 9 years later.
classified documents in Joe Biden's garage that Hunter Biden had access to.
Special counsel, did Hunter Biden ever look at those documents? I don't know if that was that even a talking point, but there was literally a special counsel that was appointed to investigate that. No charges were filed, but okay.
Access to. This was not classified information, and we are very pleased with the results of that operation and that the entire world is safer because of it.
In terms of the signals,
This is just unhinged. Our government has done a few things with immigrants that are like super dehumanizing. From the official White House account, this is the head of Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Kristi Noem.
Today and visiting this facility. And first of all, I want to thank El Salvador and their president for their partnership with the United States of America to bring our terrorists here and to incarcerate them and have consequences for the violence that they have perpetuated in our communities. I also want everybody to know, if you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face. First of all, do not come to our country illegally. You will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people.
Like, and I could be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, because that would be pretty disappointing. But this is the type of stuff that makes me think this administration, they're just not good at politics. Like, this is crazy. I don't think that their own base doesn't need to see this. Like, if you're anti-illegal immigrants or anti-criminal immigrants, like, you're already happy enough that they're deporting them or whatever, I guess. I don't see how shit like this can do anything more than just inspire hatred against you or potentially turn off moderates. Like, is there really somebody who's like, yeah, we probably should deport criminals, who sees something like this? They're like, hell yeah, fucking get them, chief. Hell yeah. Like, it just seems so over the top, unnecessary. But Although it's kind of weird because you're taking orders from the ultimate lame duck, in that generally a lame duck president is scary in his second term because they're not trying to win a re-election, you know? So it's like, fuck, this guy might do some unhinged shit. But Donald Trump doesn't only just not care about winning re-election, he doesn't give a fuck about the party itself. So, Jesus. Blocked by Brianna for doing no more than defending the First Amendment. Brianna will block you. What was their back and forth? Citizens have all the rights in the Constitution. Non-citizens do not. Anyone that has worked in campaign finance compliance can tell you there are excellent laws regulating how much non-citizens can donate and the amount of leadership they can show in American political. That has nothing to do. Nobody here was running or donating to a campaign. So why would that be relevant here? Do you think Mahmoud Khalil should be deported on the basis of his alleged support for Hamas? Yes or no? Oh, and then she blocked him. The Dallas Fed just published their energy survey. Tracy Alloway walks through that Dallas Fed energy industry report. The comments from oil and gas execs about the state of the industry are much worse than I had realized. The administration's tariffs immediately increased the cost of our casing and tubing by 25%, even though inventory costs our pipe brokers less. U.S. tubular manufacturers immediately raised their prices to reflect the anticipated tariffs on steel. Oh, I've had a couple business people email me. Another guy emailed me the other day, and he said that the thing that he was trying to convey in the email, one thing that people don't understand, I guess, is that businesses have already preemptively started raising prices, because his explanation was that because of the way inventory is stored, or the way that like pricing and the revenue and the cash flows and everything work, you try to anticipate like where markets are going to be when you buy and sell stuff. So people have already raised their prices in anticipation of, you know, incoming tariffs or uncertainty or whatever else. The fuck is this? Oh, I don't get reading else right now. Okay.
Student.
The world.
Studio Ghibli. God, I can't wait till these Studio Ghibli memes are done with. Jesus.
Student in Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah,
and what was your State Department's role in that process?
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out.
F1 visa is a student visa.
If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. if you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States, it's not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus. We're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa.
So protesting or writing, these are things that are visa revocable now? Can we just like add that to the visa rules, I guess?
And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that.
So people on visa have no speech protections in the United States. Is that what we're saying?
By the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country.
Terry, a Turkish student.
Okay. He said op-eds are okay. Rioting is not free speech. I'm sorry, was there a crime, or was this lady charged with a crime of rioting? Did that happen? Did I miss that? Blue John, I don't care. Destiny, this article mentions some of the NGOs that got federal funding from the USA. By the way, you spoke to one of the NGOs leaders. Yes, I'm sure there have been NGOs that have been funded that, if you look at all the sources of funding that an NGO gets, it's probably a lot, okay? And I'm sure lots of NGOs are involved in lots of different things. I'm sure you can find some NGOs that were probably involved with some fucking Hamas attack. I'm sure you can find some NGOs that were involved with protesting in favor of Israel's occupation, or fucking outposters, right? I'm sure it happens. I'm not going to say that all of USAID or all of some program needs to be tossed because some percentage of its budget made up some percentage of some NGO that had some percentage of its activity in a way that would be bad, okay? That's retarded, okay? Jesus. The Israelis provided USA intel on the Yemen strikes and are complaining the intel was leaked. Oh. This is, isn't this exactly what I said would happen yesterday? That one of the reasons why information is secret is because one of the things that came out of that text chain was, we know this guy's going to his girlfriend's house, or we know he'll be here at some point. Maybe there's only one or two people that knew that information, right? And now that you've leaked that, even though the strikes already happened, the source is potentially compromised or burned, right? Israel provided sensitive intelligence from a human source on Yemen on a key Houthi military operative targeted in an attack described by two national... Oh, yeah, so this is exactly what happened, right? Yes. This would be auto-classified based on source, right? Of course it would be. Yes, it would be. Can you explain why should we give visa holders the same rights as citizens? I don't know if they should necessarily have all the same rights. So for instance, voting in like federal elections, but should they be given like free speech rights? Probably. I just think it's incredibly fucking rich that Americans that take their one-dimensional understanding of the First Amendment want to go to Europe or look at Europe and say, you guys don't have freedom of speech because you don't have the exact same laws that we have governing freedom of speech. But then when you talk about people that are visiting our country on visa, you want to say that they have absolutely no free speech? What the fuck is your perspective on the First Amendment? That's bullshit. There is no consistent set of principles that can generate these contrasting opinions. It's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Don't play that fucking stupid bullshit here, okay? Fuck you. What are your thoughts about foreign nations being involved in social movements in the United States? For example, I heard yesterday in a meeting with Tulsi Gabbard that China donates to Code Pink, which makes up 25% of their funding. I think it's bad, but this administration can't talk about any of that because this administration won't ever talk about how much Russia is doing on our foreign media because they are mind raped when it comes to Russiagate. So our current admin has no capability of dealing with any type of threat online because half the threat, which is Russia, Iran, Qatar, they're incapable of looking at because they see red, because they immediately think Russiagate. How can you talk to me about an administration and pretend that they take foreign intrusion on social media seriously when Trump, sitting next to Zelensky, is saying things like, "Oh yeah, me and Putin, we're basically war hero or war pals with each other. We went through the great Russiagate crisis of 2016. Like he knows what it's like to suffer." Or 2020. Russiagate. When was Russiagate? It was the election with It was against Hillary, right? It would have been 2016, right? Was that in Zelensky's? And then he said in a couple other ones. Why am I retarded? Trump, Zelensky. Vance, meeting.
And I've known him for a long time. I've dealt with him for a long time. He had to suffer through the Russia hoax. You know, Russia was a hoax. It was all Biden. It was nothing to do with him. So he had to suffer through that, and he was able to do that. I think that he wants to make a deal, and he like.
Sorry, I keep calling it the Russia hoax. You're right. They've rebranded it to the Russia hoax. I'm sorry, but you were asking a good faith question about whether it should be allowed. I think that foreign funding like that is fine as long as it's State Department declared, right? That's what we have FARA for, the Foreign Agents Registration Act, right? Yes. As long as it's declared and not secret, then fine, fuck it. The disclosure part is important, though. Did you see Germans found Hegseths and others involved in that chat? Emails, passwords, other person. Most of it was a nothing burger. It's whatever. There's always shit leaked on the internet. I did think it was funny, though, that Hegseth apparently had like a fucking Russian email address and a Russian phone number, but okay. Okay. Oh, but also, I'm sorry. The FARA shit doesn't matter either, though, because I think we said we were going to stop investigating. I don't know if it was FARA or if it was one thing removed where the administration said they're not looking into stuff like this anymore. DOJ disbands Foreign Influence Task Force, limits scope of FARA prosecutions. Both the task force and FARA were used by the Bureau to investigate, charge, and disrupt foreign and domestic actors accused of working to influence American policy on behalf of other nations. I'm not going to read this, I'm lazy. My guess is, well, it's not that long. My guess is that the FBI probably can still investigate this, but they got rid of like a special division that maybe specialized in it, so it's just probably not going to be investigated as much anymore, would be my guess. To free resources to address more pressing priorities and end risks of further weaponization and abuses of prosecutorial discretion, the Foreign Influence Task Force should be disbanded. Recourse to criminal charges under the Foreign Agents Registration Act and 18 U.S.C. 951 shall be limited to instances of alleged conduct similar to more traditional espionage by foreign government actors. With respect to FARA, Section 951, the counterintelligence expert, including the FARA unit, shall focus on civil enforcement, regulatory initiatives, and... okay, maybe they're not going after any of these things anymore then. Well, okay, cool. That's good. Good one. So they're only investigating like literal fucking spies then, I guess. Okay. 3 weeks ago. Why are you linking this?
Understanding of what it's like to constantly be cast aside by your own peers. Having said that, that is nothing in terms of the violence and ritualistic humiliation that Palestinians are subjected to by a rabid settler colonial genocidal apartheid state that is doing terror on a daily basis.
Yes.
You do not need to cede ground to bad faith actors, but you can understand that there are so many different approaches that people engage with. You are covering the news from an American progressive perspective. He's more extreme in his views because he's covering the news from the perspective of a dude who's living in a third world country. He's in a transigent. Having said that,
third world country. I thought he was like from or in Bolivia or something. Third world country. Damn.
At the end of the day, there are multiple perspectives in any conflict, in any involvement. For the MLKs of the world, there was always the Malcolm X's of the world, and the civil rights struggle would not have been successful without both of these parties.
Just as a heads up, this is just a mistelling. This is it's a reverse whitewashing of like civil rights movements and everything. So I think initially there might be claims of somebody might say you're whitewashing the movement by saying there was no violence. There was violence involved, but it's like the ultra whitewashing where like the white people, the white college kids come out and they're like, actually, MLK wasn't even that successful. The only reason that MLK was even able to get anything done was because of the awesome people like Malcolm X, because they knew that if they didn't listen to MLK, that Malcolm X was going to come give them the old 1-2 and beat him the fuck up. And that's not true. And by the end of his life, Malcolm X said that violent protest was retarded, rioting was retarded, and then he got shot and killed by a Nation of Islam lunatics. So, okay, it wasn't effective. It just wasn't that effective, all right? The biggest gains the civil rights movement ever made were through non-violent protests. And practicing non-violence is not the same as just not being violent. Like the goal for the civil rights marches were to induce, like the Palestinians, was to induce the other side to make attacks against you, right? Because when you get videos of that, photos of that, kids getting eaten by dogs and shit, that shit moves people. A lot of people feel super hella mad and they take notice of your shit and they fuck you up. Who's this guy? Again, my viewpoint is that citizens and non-citizens have different protections. The way to change my mind on that is to bridge the gap between how citizens and non-citizens should be treated in the USA. If they arrested people indefinitely, I would agree, but they revoked their visa, send them back to their country of origin. The obvious answer should be that citizens and non-citizens in the same country, in this country, should probably be afforded the same rights, except in cases where it doesn't make sense, right? So, for instance, in elections, we might argue that it makes sense insofar as federal elections go, that only a citizen probably should be voting in a U.S. election, right? I don't even think green card holders can vote in federal elections. So that makes sense that you would limit that right there. But for like freedom of speech, I don't know. That doesn't really make sense. Why wouldn't a visa holder have the freedom to protest or say what they want in the United States? Or like due process, or, you know, not having troops quartered in your home. I don't even remember. What fucking amendment is that? Like the 7th? That's like one that nobody talks about. The 3rd? No peacetime troops quartered in home. Would we say that, like, well, you're just a visa holder, so of course the government can quarter troops in your homes? Like that would be, like, why? What? So would you say we should use common sense? I would never advocate the use of common sense to try to determine what the law should be. But I would say that if you're in this country, you should probably enjoy the same rights as everyone else, except in cases where it wouldn't make sense to extend the same rights to said person. Pretty sure SCOTUS has ruled on whether the Constitution applies to everybody in the United States. I don't remember the answer. The answer was yes, it does. The fuck? Somebody linked the court case earlier, supposedly that had to do with this, or one that had to do with this. Bridges v. Wixon. I haven't read this case, though, so. Destiny. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are inalienable rights extended to every human being according to the United States. Well, okay. But also, am I retarded? That's the... Let me look this up before I say something really retarded. Okay, yeah. Well, that's the Declaration of Independence. It's not like... I don't know if there's an amendment saying... But also, phrases like this, I think, are just meant to say that there exists some source of rights outside of the government, and the government exists to, like, you know, defend some of these rights or to, right? Wait, what is this for? Trump announced he's pulling Elise Stefanik's nomination to be ambassador to the UN. The White House was concerned about the Republican slim majority in the House. Oh, was she like a member of the House or something? Oh, they might be worried. I don't know what that House is gearing up. It was an R+20 district? Yeah, but what... I don't follow the special elections. This is what we need IRI for. Wasn't there a recent election where... Or have there been a couple recent elections where big +20 Trump districts are getting smashed? Or like big plus Trump districts are getting kind of smashed? Should gold card holders get more rights than citizens because they paid to be here? True. In the Pennsylvania State Senate, Trump +15 won by a Dem slightly. The special elections are in a week or two. Okay. The more what? Oh, I agree with green card holders not voting. Sure, that makes sense. Gold card visas actually have more rights since they don't have to pay tax on things outside the U.S. Wait, is that actually true? Do you think Dems can win the special elections? I have no idea. I mean, remember, one of your weaknesses when it comes to a cult is people just vote for the cult leader. They don't really give a fuck about the party or the people underneath them. And I think historically Trump has always had trouble with midterms and special elections, right? It was one of the reasons, I think, I'm parroting stuff I've heard. I haven't like studied the polls of the elections themselves, but that one of the big reasons why people were hoping that Kamala would win in 2025 is because of the underperforming of so many Trump candidates during those special elections. Or Trump candidates, Republican candidates, I should say, but... Do you see the investment that Musk has into the special elections? Decided over 2 of the candidates in which they were asked to provide a ruling that was favorable to the opposite side. Unsurprisingly, the Dem could give an example, but the Trump sycophant couldn't think of any. That's, bro, I don't understand how it's legal. I mean, I guess because the federal government's not going to prosecute you. But this thing of Musk just like paying people, what is he doing? Paying $1 million to spokespeople in Wisconsin is so cringe and disgusting. God, I hope this guy's business gets expropriated and he gets fucking kicked the fuck out of this country. You want to talk about kicking visa people or kicking anybody out of this fucking country? Elon Musk is like the first that has to fucking go. I will become a full-on red shirt. That's who the communists are, the red shirts. I will be a red shirt if the Democrats win and they don't kick this motherfucker out of this country and steal this motherfucker's businesses from him and give it to the U.S. government or anything. I don't give it to fucking Hillary Clinton. Jesus. This guy is insane. I hate him so much. What influence does the midterm have? I really don't know what that shit is even good for. The midterms. So in the United States of America, Senate seats, you hold a Senate position. You have Congress, which is your Senate, your upper body, and the House, your lower body. The Senate has, for real, like 100 people in it. And then the House has 435. For real, I think. I say for real because I think there's like an honorary like DC senator, but I don't think their vote matters or counts. They're just like there for fucking memes. And there might be a couple in the House that are the same. I don't remember. But midterm. So, okay. So your Senate seats in your upper body are every 6 years. Not all of them are every 6 years, but like when you are voted into the Senate in a state, you hold that seat for 6 years. The House is fully cycled through every 2 years. You have House elections. So the midterm just refers to non-presidential election years where people are running for seats in the House of Representatives. It's crazy because I now understand people's hatred of Soros. It just took an asshole actually doing all the things that he says he does. Yeah, seriously. Holy fuck. Territories have non-voting delegates and they can only sponsor a bill. Yeah, I think there's a few in the House and there's like, I think 1 in the Senate. Why does DC get cucked? I don't know. It's kind of weird / funny / sad. Like I think the DC license plate, I think even says on it, no taxation without representation, or tax because they get taxed and they're treated as like because they pay federal taxes as well, right? And they have no representation to the government. They're just fucked. I can understand Puerto Rico at least, okay? Like these motherfuckers are basically South America, right? That Puerto Rico is not American, but DC, damn, that's fucked. Brown. I don't know if Puerto Ricans in general are brown. I don't know what the average is on that. I'm not sure. I've known a lot of white Puerto Ricans. Are House representatives portioned according to population centers, like proportionally? They kind of are, although it still slightly favors smaller states. Just because of how the numbers work out, everything favors smaller states. Republicans have a big institutional advantage in all parts of the government, which is a little bit annoying, but wait, is Miles, was he supposed to be Puerto Rican? I know they were Spanish. I guess I never thought about it. Or at least his mom was Spanish. Is his mom Puerto Rican? Someone said, I thought Dominican. Listen, listen, okay? I just subscribe to the neo-Nazi ideology, all right? We call it the one-drop rule. With hair like that, he must be black. That's what we say. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love Israel way too much to be a neo-Nazi, okay? Destiny, Spanish means from Spain or the language. No, I mean like actual Spanish. I think his mom spoke Spanish in the movie. Fuck, I just had a thought. I don't remember what it was. She's from PR. Okay. Must not have been important. Daily reminder, in case you're here today and you weren't here for the last few days, there's a movie called Mickey 17. You should see it. Just see how fucking horrible it is. I need more people agreeing with me on this. My God, what a terrible, horrible fucking movie. Oh my God, it was such a bad movie. In almost every way, size, shape, and form. Holy Christ. Are you going to list the reasons it's bad or just say it's bad without substantiating it like Oppenheimer? I listed the reason why Oppenheimer is bad too. It's bad because the script was cringe. Everything was way too on the nose. It went in like 50 million different directions. It didn't explore any of the themes that it promised or it seemed like it was going to explore. The story itself was contrived and weak as fuck. You need to go out and cut 100 tails. Everything about it was so contrived and horrible. In the end of the movie, when that guy is running up to him with the sword and he's shooting at him, he literally has a button on his arm that would just blow the guy up. Why does he shoot at him with a gun? Why don't you just blow him up? Like, there's just, God, it was such a horrible movie. Fuck me.
Are going to be good for Tesla, sir?
Good. Do you think tariffs are going to be good for Tesla, sir? I think is what he asked.
Tariffs are going to be good for Tesla, sir?
Good for who?
Tesla, which makes it good.
Well, he is a fantastic Tesla. Will tariffs be good? I think they may, it could be a net neutral or they may be good. He has a big plant in Texas. He has a big plant in California. And anybody that has plants in the United States, it's going to be good for, in my opinion.
Mr. President, tariffs are going to be good.
Many times you forget them. And if you forget a good idea, you want to commit suicide. So you have to write them down.
If a person forgets an idea that they love, it's a horror. And it could lead to a real yearning to commit suicide.
I write them down so I don't commit suicide later, having forgotten the idea.
Yeah. If you don't write it down, it could happen that the next day you
kill yourself.
Then you want to blow your brains out.
Oh, it's that bad.